On this episode of the Who Is This podcast, brought to you by Double R Communications and Sierra Pacific Mortgage of the Gila Valley, we had the pleasure of talking with Drew Norton. We've been wanting to have Drew on for a while now, and finally we're fortunate enough to sit down and talk with him. Drew is a sales coach and has been a salesman for quite some time. He's an entrepreneur. He is into real estate, really has a lot of things going on. So we truly appreciate the time that he took to come in and chat with us. Had a great time, really learned a lot on this episode. I think there's a lot of valuable information in here that Drew was able to share with us, and we hope you enjoy.
I'm going to talk like this.
Let it be known, Mr. Reed Richens, that this was like this when we got in here. Well, that was a fun start to the podcast. But, no. Drew, welcome to the Who Is This podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
As you can see, super laid back and not professional.
Yeah, I love it.
Hey, you can be laid back and professional at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive.
That's true.
Like a mullet. Right?
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll let Reed know that this is not wanting to stay up for us. But
this works for me, though. I'm more relaxed like this.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Awesome. Drew, welcome, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you spending some time with us, coming to chat. And this is the Who Is This podcast is what we call it, and it's all about our guests. So Drew Norton is our guest today. He's someone that we've talked about having on, and finally we're just like, all right, let's call Drew. And we were lucky, and with your busy schedule, you were able to make today work.
Yeah, no, it was cool. You said, hey, tomorrow, and I'm like, I'm actually free at the exact time. So yeah, it worked out great.
Because you travel quite a bit, don't you?
Used to quite a bit. It's been less. I'm working a lot more remote and virtual.
Oh,
now.
okay.
So I'm not on. I used to be on the road 5-6 days a week. So that's cut back. I still do some travel for work, but not near as much as I used to.
Yeah. So what were you doing when you were traveling that much?
Yeah. So for over the past decade, I've had a career in sales, and most recently, before I stopped traveling so much, I ran and led some pretty large sales teams, and was doing solar for an organization, and I was leading a branch that was actually out of Tucson. So I would go down several days a week, and over time I scaled back how much I was there before I stopped working with them. So we had an apartment down there, and I love the Gila Valley and haven't wanted to leave it. So it was go down there, several days a week and run things. So happy to be traveling less now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Your wife's probably happy about that too.
Yeah. She jokes that she was a single parent for the beginning.
Yeah.
With me on the road so much. So she's really happy too that I've not gone near as much as I used to be.
Yeah.
So,
how many kids do you guys have?
4.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4 kids.
What are their ages?
Our daughter is 11 and our 3 boys are 8, I think 6 and almost 2.
Leave it to Dad to just...
I'm close. I can get like within a year.
Our kids' ages are like exactly the same, because next month, so 3 of my kids all have the same birthday in April. Not the same birthday, the same month, but within a week of each other. And so next month they'll be 12, 9, and 7, and then we have a 2-year-old. So that's like, I'm right there with you, man. I know what you're going through.
It's that stage of life, busy.
Yeah.
It's fun though.
Yeah. How did she juggle that? Like whenever you were gone, and, was it tough for her?
Oh, it definitely was tough. In fact, we had some pretty crazy things happen during that time. She's I always joke that she's like the hot glue gun of our marriage, that she holds everything together. Mm-hmm. I've always been the entrepreneur that's chasing my dreams and doing things, and she provides this stability in our home. So she's been awesome. She's been amazing. It wasn't her favorite time. So
yeah. I'm sure. I think it takes a relationship like that is able to have someone that's able to support you on the back end. Because being an entrepreneur, that is what it is. You've got your people have this idea of being self-employed or being an entrepreneur. You're not having to be at work
Right.
every,
Not
you know,
having to answer to anybody.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're not having to be anywhere from 9 to 5 or whatever, but in the reality, you're probably busier than someone with a
Yeah.
9 to 5 because in the loan world, we have to work when the loans come
Right.
to us,
Yeah.
you know, so even though we're not 9 to 5, sometimes I'm 9 to 12 and then 6 to 8 in
Right.
the evening, you know, it just
Yeah.
depends, and you've got to be able to adjust to that. So it's important to have a support system,
Right.
you know, in a partner and a wife that is willing to kind of roll with those punches and those schedule changes and all that.
Yeah, I don't think people realize sometimes all that comes with owning your own business or being an entrepreneur. It's like sometimes you might have I only had to work 2 hours today, and then there's days where it's like I was working at 6 a.m. and didn't get done till 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
and the reality is probably there's more often there's those types of days. At
Yeah.
least when you're first getting
Oh, yeah.
started. I mean, definitely when you're first getting started is you're constantly working. It feels like.
yeah.
So are you out of the solar world now, or is that still something you're involved with? Or
I don't work for a solar company anymore. I have some solar companies I'm partnering with and doing some contracting with as far as I do sales training and coaching now.
Yeah.
And so I have a couple teams that hire me to come in and do some work with them. But as far as me running teams or selling solar, I don't
You have
do that
solar
anymore.
clients, but
Right.
you're not in
Yeah.
the solar
Right.
industry. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you get into that? Like, tell us your story. That's what we're
Yeah.
all about is, you know, how did you get to where you're at today?
Yeah, so the short backstory first is I mentioned earlier I've got over a decade, probably almost 15 years now doing sales, leading sales teams. I started door to door in college, went out and would sell over the summer, and the idea was, hey, work really hard and you can make enough money that you don't have to work during the school year.
that was kind of the pitch that these companies gave, right?
Come work hard for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
and-
If you went to EAC, you talked to a door-to-door
Oh,
sales
yeah,
recruiter.
totally,
Yeah.
totally, yeah. And so I fell for it, and and it worked really well for me. It's something that it's not good for everybody, and I really enjoyed it. And so I got into that. Did that for a few summers. Then for several years, I worked here locally in town at the Graham Agency, Tim Graham's office at Allstate. So got to know a lot of people in the community through working with them. And then I went into solar. Part of what influenced that is I love real estate and wanted to get into that more, wanted to have some more freedom and flexibility to be able to do that. And solar was going to allow that for me. So started buying properties. I've got a business partner, Josh Tilley. A lot of people in the community know who he is. We own some apartments together, and actually we technically own a restaurant. We're not involved in that at all.
What restaurant?
The Barnyard. So
Oh, okay.
We're partners on that, but we have nothing to do with the day to day.
Yeah.
We own the building.
Mm-hmm.
Sawyer has been doing awesome there. If you guys haven't tried it, you need to.
Love it.
It's awesome.
It
food.
is really good.
And anyways, so as I was leading some sales teams, doing solar, had a lot of success there, but ultimately wanted to be doing something where I was home more. So that was part of it. To really grow and scale in that industry, it was going to be difficult to continue to do that living here in the Gila Valley. And I remember I kind of talked to my wife that I just had this desire to change the way some of the industry things are done in the industry and how I'd love for that to happen. And ultimately what ended up happening is I ended up working with a growth agency and coaching with them, and started working with them as part of a team that would coach businesses and entrepreneurs, and eventually went off onto doing my own this last year. So
this is your business. It's your,
Yeah.
you know, you're doing it
yeah.
all on your own. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun because I have total control, but it's also been, hey, I'm starting, kind of feels like I've started over again this last year. So
how would you describe the product? That's help me understand.
Yeah. So what I want to do is change the way people view sales. So I feel like there's a lot of people, I mean, sales is life. It's a part of everything you do. I think a lot of people, one of the things that drives me crazy is when people say, oh, well, I don't sell. It's like, well, yeah, you do. If you've got a product or service, you have to, right?
Right. What are you doing?
Right. Now there's ways you can do it that can feel good and be be good for a client or prospect, and there's ways that feel like you're twisting people's arms and aren't great. So I love working with people that, hey, maybe they got into business and didn't realize how big sales would be in their business, and they want to kind of get better at it. And so part of it's like almost working with their mindset first, like helping them see that, hey, sales can be a good thing, and what you're doing is actually helping people, and it's a benefit, and it'd almost be immoral not to sell your product or service. And then it's focusing on what you say, how you say it, kind of the tactical side. And so I've worked with some individuals one-on-one. Mostly I'm working with teams doing that kind of stuff, but also doing some one-on-one coaching or work with people too. So yeah, I guess it's working with people that just want, hey, I want to get better at sales.
So do you do like weekly coaching calls with these people, or
Yeah.
like what's your model? Like what exactly are you doing for them?
Yeah, it's usually one of two things. It's either a weekly type agreement where I come in and work with them every week. So I've got a team down in Phoenix that a software company that sells software that I run their meetings every week. They've been contracting me to do a little bit more than that as of late. And then I've got some where I just meet a couple times a month. So it's usually 2 times a month or weekly, just depending on what the organization needs and what they're looking for. So for example, I've got a plumbing company that's opening up next month down in Phoenix, and I'll probably come in weekly to start and then scale back to a couple times a week as they get their plumbers in, and they sell a service plan, part of their plumbing. Kind of interesting.
Interesting.
I feel like most businesses are kind of trying to
get a service model,
put that structure into place, because that get their recurring business to come, and that's how a lot of them are successful.
Yeah, and this particular business owner, he's been successful. He knows sales, but he's like, I don't have the time to train all these people. So I'll be going in and working with their team to kind of help get some systems and processes in place and some scripts.
Do you help them like set goals, like just all that type of stuff?
Yeah. One of the things I like to work with is I on the side we've got a podcast called The Everyday Leader. I do that with Matt Harrington and Tate Hoisington. Matt just moved out of town. Tate, they just bought Sump Pumps here in town. So a podcast centered around the idea of leadership. But anyways, Matt and we came up with a framework we called your most important number for your most important person. So part of what we would do going through that exercise is help people, okay, what's the most important number? What's the KPI that drives business the most or drives things in our role? And then who's that serving at the end of the day? Try to kind of bring the numbers and the people together.
Okay.
So, we'll work on some of that and help.
Can you give like an example of that? Like most important number as far as like a sales goal? Okay.
So maybe for the sales rep in the organization, it's, hey, I need to make so many prospecting calls a day. So that might be their most important number.
That's your most important number. Okay.
And the most important person might be, it's serving my end of the day prospect or client, where maybe for the, it could apply to things outside of sales too, where, hey, maybe if I'm the executive assistant, my most important number is how many calls I have to hand off to the CEO, and he's my most important person. So everything I do is to make his life easier. So that would be kind of an example of how you'd use that framework to identify and stay focused on what's most important in your business.
That's awesome.
So I was going to mention you kind of come from a family that has some real estate background. Your mom's a real estate agent. I've worked with her a couple times. Is that you getting into real estate, did she have any influence on that, do you think, or has that been? Yeah,
good question. Probably more indirectly. I don't think I saw my mom being a realtor and was like, oh, I want to get into real estate because my mom's a realtor. My mom's been very much an entrepreneur most of her life. She gets that from her dad, where my dad, he taught and worked the same job, just retired after being there 35 years. So he's like the stability side of what I saw growing up. My mom's kind of the dreamer and the chaser. And so I think that probably inspired me. And I think part of it too was when I was selling insurance, just had a lot of clients that I was insuring their rental properties. And I think that's kind of where that interest first came from.
It's crazy how much of the economy and different businesses really revolve, but at least have something to do with real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in almost everything. It's influenced by real estate. And so it's a super great skill to have of, learning real estate, how it works, how it can benefit you, how you can, use it to improve your own life. And I know I've been benefited by it, by getting to know that side of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I'd go into that a few years ago. I thought, maybe this is what I'll get into full time. And part of what I realized is I really love real estate, like buying it, and I don't like the managing side of it. So we've got an assistant that runs most everything for us. So my partner and I, we're still involved, but the day-to-day stuff is we mostly
That's nice.
have handled and taken care of. So
that is nice.
So that's the retirement plan. It's not the it can vary. I think a lot of people hear real estate and think, it's like you can just have all this money that comes in every month, and it can quickly turn into a big job. So
absolutely. Yep.
And expense.
Yeah. No, there's something always breaking or that needs to be fixed or needs to be paid for. So
and just when you think you've got it all taken care of, there's something else.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Totally.
Go whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about how you decided to make that switch from working for a company that's doing what you're doing now and going off completely on your own. When you did that, were you able to bring over any clients with you, or did you
No, it's been kind of building from scratch. So it's definitely was a jump in. And
how do you? So you said you've have these clients out of town. How do you find your clients?
Yeah, great question. I've most of it's come through networking. So networking, going to events, meeting people, trying to tell everybody what I do. I have worked with one group here in town but everything else has been out of town or out of state. And this is something I'm working on right now. I'm trying to grow a YouTube channel and get bigger on social media, and it's never been something I wanted to do. And I also recognize in today's world, it's like having a personal brand is so huge and so important. So for me, a lot of my business has actually come from either a referral or like doing a webinar with somebody where they bring me in to do some sales training for their group, and then someone raises their hand and says, "Hey, I need help. Can we talk more?" Yeah. And so a lot of it's just kind of come through things like that, jumping on podcasts and doing things like that. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Still.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that I appreciated Isaac's question because, how does a plumbing company find you and
right
say, "Hey, I need"?
Well, that's the strange thing. I was doing so this client of mine that runs they have a CRM, a software that's for capital raisers in multifamily real estate. So their user raises money to buy $1 million apartment complexes, and they had me on a call doing some training around sales and how you could talk to an investor. And he just said, "Hey, I want to connect with you," and was like, "Hey, I'm looking for some sales help. We're starting a new business, and I've got 3 or 4, and need help." I think
that's one of the most important things about being an entrepreneur and being in sales is constantly being on the lookout for opportunities, because no matter where you're at, who you're talking to, you never know who the next potential client's going to be. Going to those types of events, and I mean, honestly, talking to people at the grocery store, you never know when it's going to pop up. I mean, it's very, very common in our world that out of nowhere, someone just, "Oh, you do this, just at the grocery store." And so you've got to be on the lookout for those types of things. And networking is huge. If you're not good at networking, you're not going to be a successful salesperson or entrepreneur.
Yeah, you're literally like one conversation away from something that can change your life.
100%.
And when you recognize that and realize that, it's just kind of crazy how things just kind of come out of the woodworks when you're looking for them.
Yeah, so. And that's why mindset is so important with being a successful salesperson, because. And I struggle with this myself sometimes, is if you get down, or if you get, where sometimes I just don't want to talk to people. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking to people so much. It's so much of a roller coaster, and it's it's exhausting mentally. And so sometimes I'm just not in the mindset where I don't want to be, not that I want to be rude to anybody, but it's just like, I just want to be left alone. But if you have that mindset, really at any point, you're potentially missing out on a life-changing opportunity, because you never know when it's going to happen. So that's something that I work on, is trying to constantly keep my mindset where it needs to be, positive and mentally prepared. Is that something that you coach, as far as, helping people see that and helping people kind of get through those downs, those valleys?
Yeah, totally. I think, and this is, I'm just going to use this as an example. I don't think there's anything wrong with being this, but I think a lot of people, when they hear sales, they think of like used car salesman.
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely. And my dad was a used car salesman my whole life, and he was a great salesman, but he wasn't a used car salesman. Right. That's what they used to do. So there's sometimes
this like stereotype, I think, that comes with sales, that if you're in sales, you're sleazy, you're a scumbag, and even if you're not, you go into it and you sometimes carry that weight. So I think one, it's like identifying some of those limiting beliefs first, and then if I even have a questionnaire I'll let people go through that kind of helps them see, okay, what kind of salesperson am I? Like, am I a servant leader? Am I a guide for people? Like what? And I think if you just view the way you look at sales a little bit different, like, hey, I can really be helping someone, and based on my strengths, and it's not always about twisting arms or being dishonest. Like, that's not what sales is.
And it should never be about that. Yeah.
Right. That's where it starts. Like, I really believe sales is like helping people discover the need for change, like,
and seeing value in what it is that what you're providing to them.
Right.
I think the best type of salesperson, you want to be sold without knowing you're being sold.
Right.
Because the best type of salesperson is able to provide that value without coming across with sales breath. Yeah. And it's not because it's not that you don't want them knowing that's what you're doing. It's just you're doing such a good job at providing value that they're just naturally going to be sold on that object. Yeah.
Helping them realize like this is something that they need, and their lives will improve by, having this product.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's one thing I love about the product that we sell. Mm-hmm. What we do is everybody needs somewhere to live, and their lives are going to be better by having a home that they own.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like very accomplished knowing that I'm helping somebody improve their lives with the product that we sell,
And I think that's another important thing about. Sorry, I'm getting distracted because I swear my thing's so much bigger than yours. I don't know if I just talk so loud or what, but look at it. Like, when you talk, dude, yours is like this small, and then when I talk, it is huge. Like, do I need to start whispering or something?
That's not what we're laughing at, dude.
Anyways, you guys I missed that one.
Courtney, you're gonna have to take that part out, dude. Isaac literally just said, my thing is so much bigger than yours.
I just looked over at Dave.
Oh my gosh. No, please leave it in. Actually, that's hilarious. Anyways, man, I completely lost my train of thought now. It's distracting watching those over there. What was I saying? Okay, that's what it was. Believing in the product that you're selling is huge too. And I think that's where the sleazy sales breath or the sleazy salesperson comes across, is when they're selling something that they really don't think they should be, or they don't really believe in. So they're having to create, potentially fake value, or and so that's when they're really pushing a product that they don't believe in, and that's where the sleaziness comes across. But if you're able to have a product that you fully believe in, and like Davis said with houses, I fully believe if someone has the option of renting or buying, 100% buying is the way to go. Every time. And I fully believe that. And I could argue people might not always agree with that, but I have my stance on it and I believe it. And so I can argue it. And I think that's what helps me be a good salesman in providing that value, is I really believe in what I'm selling.
Yeah.
I don't think Courtney should edit that out. Maybe don't create any
no clips.
No clips about it, but we'll leave it in.
Context
I used to work at Verizon and sold cell phones.
Yeah.
And I loved the people that I worked with.
Yeah.
And there were some things that, a lot of things I really loved about the job, but I'm not a huge techie guy. Like that's not my thing. I appreciate technology, but I don't go out of my way to learn about cell phones or tablet or whatever. And so once I moved over to mortgages, again, I just feel so much more fulfillment on my job because again, it's something I do really believe in, and I spend my time learning about different mortgages and learning about different products that are available, because I want to be able to solve any mortgage problem that comes up, or find a solution for anybody that's looking for a home, whether it be their primary residence or investment property. And so that's it again, like I feel like I'm kind of beating a dead horse, but it feels refreshing really believing in the product that I'm selling.
It's interesting too, because if you believe in yourself and you believe in your product, it can overcome a lot of like deficiencies you have with sales. Like one of my best sales reps when I did solar, technically he couldn't teach or repeat like anything he did. He was such a fly by the cuff kind of.
Did he sell me my solar panels?
I don't think so. He lives down in Tucson. And like you couldn't replicate.
Justin Alder, I'm talking about you.
He was one of my reps too. But you couldn't replicate the way this guy sold. And like I think a lot of his weaknesses overcame just by the belief in what he did and who he was and how he would help people and take care of them, and the belief in the product. Like so you can overcome a lot by just having like being aligned with where you work and the product you have, and then believing in yourself. And then there are things you can do to be better at selling technically, and those are important too. But I think if you don't believe in yourself, you don't believe in your product, it's really hard to.
There's definitely things you can do to sharpen your sword.
Right.
But I'm a firm believer too that some people are salesmen, some people aren't. Some people just don't have it. I mean, in the past few years, we've where we were at before, we've had a lot of different LOs working with us, and some of the times you can just say like, this person just doesn't have it. They're a great guy, but they just don't have it. And you can teach someone like that, and they might be successful. I truly believe that you're really good. You just said your top salesman, you couldn't really replicate it because that was he just had it. Whatever it was, he was, and I'm guessing he was probably a genuine person. Yeah. He was probably super honest. He was easy to talk to, and people trusted him, because that's what I think the best salesmen have in common is their ability to gain trust. Yeah. And true trust, meaning they're not, I don't know how I want to say this. They're not selling their trust, but they're honestly, in a genuine manner, gaining people's trust just by having conversations with them. And I think that's what really creates and nourishes the best type of salesman. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny. The one thing I'd push back a little bit on that, Isaac, is I think you can teach sales. What you can't teach is like, do I have the discipline? Do I have the willingness to get better? Do I have the some of the best salespeople I brought in were people with no talent before, no experience, and they learned it. And where sometimes the people I thought who had were the most naturally gifted struggled because there's a lot of discipline that's required to be right. In sales.
But I think we're saying the same thing in a different way.
Yeah, totally.
Like some people might not know they're going to be a good salesman, but I just think that there's something within people that
there is an it factor.
That sometimes they just, for whatever reason, it just doesn't work out. As much training as they can have, it's just, and you're right. Discipline is definitely part of that. But I think it's a personality thing. I think we're saying the same thing in a little bit different way.
We are. Yeah. In fact, I also one of my old co-workers, we were sales managers together, and he used to say, I'm going to probably butcher how he said it, but he used to say something like, sales is just self-development disguised as a money-making opportunity. Like, I loved what you were saying, Davis, about like you love studying and learning. Like, how many people love learning about loans and mortgages, but but you get better at your job the more you're willing to like really invest in it and invest in yourself. So the saying I like to always say is, you can get a good look at a T-bone by sticking your That Tommy Boy.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, you said you were going to butcher it. I was like, oh, Tommy Boy quote.
Yeah, no, I really believe that. I believe that you can learn sales, and if you're looking for a 9-to-5 job, not to say there's anything wrong with showing up at a job where you kind of clock in, put your time in.
Oh, I envy that a lot of times.
Right,
I wish I could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much something you like. And the thing about sales is, even when you're done, you're thinking about all the conversations you had that entire day or that are coming up.
It literally never turns off.
And that's not for everybody. Like it's not. So
I literally just an hour ago, because we're getting ready to go to Mexico for spring break, and I told Shaylee, I was like, I feel like I'm going to be on my computer the entire time we're there. And she's like, well, you don't have to be. And I was like, I kind of do. Like, and then I backtracked. I was like, I'm obviously not going to be on my computer the entire time we're on vacation, but I am bringing it with me because I know that something's going to come up that at some point I'm going to have to hop onto it. Because if you don't, it's like the, I don't know what it's called, like the butterfly effect or the ripple effect, right? Like if a butterfly flaps his wings here, it grows over time, and across the world, it's a hurricane. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of, if I don't answer this one phone call, what is that going to affect me down the road? So, Shaylee, I'm sorry, but yeah, I've got to work a little bit while we're on vacation, because if you don't, you pay for it later.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were talking about discipline earlier, and it just reminded me, we interviewed a guy one time that we've known forever, grew up with, and we reached out to him because we were like, dude, you'll be great at this. He already had some mortgage experience, and we interviewed him. And after the interview, we were just like, this guy, still love the guy, but his you could tell his priorities were not in sales. His priorities were totally elsewhere, and it was like, okay, we are dodging a huge bullet right now. But just by that one conversation, we realized like he's the most likable, funniest guy you'll know. I believe has tons of potential, but not a lot of discipline. At least not for
the role you need.
The role. Because he's gone on to, from what I can tell, create a pretty successful business, but just in something totally different. He just needed to find that thing that he loved, and I'm happy for him now. Glad it didn't work out with us. Because I don't think he would have been happy. He's much happier because he's found the thing that he loves. So
alignment's important.
Right. Exactly. That's where I was getting at. You summarized my whole alignment's important.
Yeah, much fewer words. Good job, June. No, just joking. Yeah. Never mind. I'm not going to say that. I think that's on that note. I think that's something me and Davis have been really lucky about, because one of the reasons why we wanted to hire him is because he's a good friend. But that could have turned out really bad. If we did hire, if it did. And anyways, it didn't. But that's one thing me and Davis known each other our entire lives, and fortunately, this relationship has worked out really well, and we have a really great thing going. But do you find that in what you do is people? Do you help with like the hiring process at all? That's one thing I wanted to ask.
Yeah, it's not like the main focus, and it's something I can help with because I've done a lot of it over the last 10 years.
Right. Yeah. Do you find people that are wanting to hire someone simply because they have a relationship with them and they think that they're, do you find people that struggle with that?
Yeah. I mean, I've made that mistake. I've hired people that just, they're a friend, or I like this person, so it'd be cool to work together, and it turned into huge disasters. It's not fun to fire someone you like or love. Like, I've had to do that before.
That wouldn't be fun at all.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is just hiring based on like core values over sometimes even over experience or skill set. Like that, I think that there's a lot of alignment just by, hey, this is our vision, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to be known for. Here's the things that are important to us, and finding people that align with that. It feels often more important than how you know them or their pedigree sometimes. So
I think sales are so personal that it makes sense that there's not a secret formula for everybody.
Yeah.
Like it not something that I do to generate business might not be the same thing that works for Davis.
Right.
Like, and so I think that it's important to have someone like you that kind of will help people see what works for them and kind of tailor it to their own needs and figure out what works.
Yeah. And there's a lot of part to sales. What I don't do like marketing or anything like that. Like I focus more on the sales and sales conversations but there's a place for, there's a lot of ways to run and operate a successful business and bring in customers and traffic. So there's not one size fits all when it comes to how you build and grow your business. So,
yeah.
Speaking of not one size fits all, I hope this isn't too personal of a question. I'm not going to ask you numbers, but when you are structuring your business with different businesses, whether they be like startups or businesses that have been around a long time, how do you decide how to charge them?
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah. No, it's coaching and consulting is really interesting.
Yeah,
it's like you're selling advice. You're selling before I got into doing any of this, I had invested in myself. I've paid for programs. I've paid for mentorships. My first thing I ever invested in outside of school or outside of like buying a book to read was I paid for a real estate course. I spent $6,000 on it. And I remember thinking, like, am I about to get hosed out of $6,000 doing this? Mm-hmm. And it's one of the best things I ever did because it taught me how to buy properties creatively with creative financing. Probably don't want me to promote this stuff on your guys'
No, absolutely.
Go for it.
Without
having to go to a bank or without having to get a loan, right? Like
Trust me,
there's ways to do it outside of conventional lending. Right?
We provide a need, but sometimes we're not needed, and I'll be the first to say that. I mean, yeah.
And so that like what I learned from that alone is like probably paid me back, I don't know, 10 times, 20 times, 50 times. I don't know. There's been a lot of money we've made in real estate from me buying that course. And then I ended up buying another mentorship into another real estate community. And like I think it paid for it. Like it was, I split it with I joined this group with my mom. Once again, she loves real estate too. And I think it was $20,000 for the two of us to join in, but I probably made my money back in a month or two.
Wow.
Like doing some creative deals through this group. So it's interesting because like part of it's like, okay, what am I paying for? And I think for the person paying, there's some power in like investing in yourself. Like there's some power in saying, I believe in myself enough that I'm going to pay to get help to get better. And the funny thing is, it's like people spend tens, if not hundreds of $1,000s on education through, universities. And that's not the only place where you can learn and grow.
Nope.
And so, yeah, the organization I was working with previously, I saw groups would come in and spend large amounts of money, like sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars to work with an entire organization to grow and scale. And so for me, most of what I do ranges anywhere from a few $100s up to maybe $20,000 for an engagement, just depending on how long, how often.
It's tailored to the people specific. Yeah.
So I don't have a one size fits all. I have kind of one or two ways I typically point people towards, and I try to meet people where they're at with what they need. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how many clients do you have right now?
Total, I've got a lot that are about to get started, but active clients, about a half dozen I'm working with right now. So yeah, but it's kind of interesting too, because some of it's like I've got one potential client we're talking through that they'd have me come in and be training. They have 200 clients that they want to provide stuff for that I would basically be doing that for. So I won't be working with 200 groups individually. It'd be a lot of it would be group settings, right? Group calls. So yeah.
That's awesome. Were you, because you do a lot of business with Josh, obviously he's your business partner. Were you involved in the event that he put on?
No, not from, I helped sponsor it. And we meet every week for our real estate business. So I kind of got a peek behind the curtain as that whole thing unfolded. But no, I don't have any.
I was just curious.
There was no, nothing I can claim that
official involvement. Yeah. No, I'm just curious.
But very cool to see how that all worked out and played out.
Yeah.
Pretty inspiring.
So you come from a big family. You're the oldest, right?
Yep.
And how many siblings do you have?
6 younger siblings.
And how many are boys?
There are 5 boys, and we have 2 sisters.
Let's go. If you've listened to the podcast, you know we talk about the 5-boy, 2-girl club.
Oh, really?
There's so many of them. And
So many families.
Yeah.
Dude. So many families in this valley. 5 boys, 2 girls.
Yeah.
I wasn't even getting to that, but that's
5
hilarious.
and 2.
So what I'm curious about is with you having 4 brothers. I'm sure you guys play sports and stuff. I'm sure you live in a competitive household.
Oh, yeah.
And I know a lot of your brothers do sales too, right?
At one point or another, all of them have done some type of sales.
Do you think that played a role? I mean, growing up in that type of household, competing with your brothers and everything. Do you think that's kind of helped you develop into being a good salesman?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think I've thought about this a lot. Except for like maybe with Chris, we were the closest in age. But I would say the competition was always friendly competition.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it was like I got back into. I left working at insurance with kind of it was sales, but it was a 9-to-5 job to go into solar because he was doing it and was being really successful at it. And it was like, well, if my younger brother can, I can do this too.
If he can do it, I can do it. Yeah. Does he still do solar?
No, he's working for the college.
Okay.
Now. So yeah, I would say that's part of it. I've found I get more satisfaction about like competing with myself than I do with others. So I think there's a healthy amount of like I want to beat somebody and and get ahead of someone, but I've always been more motivated by.
If you do it wrong, there could be a lot of negativity in that too, because then you start wanting people to fail, and if you start having that type of mindset, that can drag you down too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely enough to go around for everybody. In fact, one of the best conversations I ever had when I was early in sales, we had just moved to a new place in Safford, was going to church. I just had been working insurance not very long at Allstate here in town. I had a conversation with Brent Webb, who owns Innis Insurance in town. I remember jokingly saying, "Oh, I guess we're competitors," the first time I met. And I remember him telling me, like, "No, there's plenty of people who need insurance. There's plenty of us to go around.
Yeah.
Reach out if you ever have questions or need any help." And was kind of a unofficial insurance mentor, even though we, in some ways, we're competing in a lot of ways. And that always stuck out to me.
That's cool. And that's a testament to Brent, and you know that's kind of going back to what we were talking about, the character and having that type of mentality. I think is really what makes the good salesman. I fully believe that you don't always the good salesmen are the ones that you don't know they're salesmen. Yeah, I really believe that.
Yeah, totally.
I agree.
Sweet. So do you have anything you want to like promote or put? Or, what do you? This is about you, man. What do you want to talk about?
Well, if you want to check out more of what I'm doing, we have a podcast, the Everyday Leader Podcast. I kind of mentioned that earlier. The idea of that podcast, we want people to be a leader wherever they're at in life. You don't have to you don't have to own a business or have a title to be a leader. So, the Everyday Leader Podcast. I'll share I'll forget if I don't pull up my phone. If you want to. If any of your listeners want to text and get this guy, I have a PDF resource they can get access to that'll tell them what their sales persona is and maybe help them see themselves a little bit different as a salesperson.
Cool.
You can text sales to 928-928-5985. So 928-928-5985, and they'll get access to a free resource that can basically 10 questions that kind of helps you identify, okay, what kind of salesperson am I, and lean into that. And if anyone's looking for sales help, love to have a conversation. I'd love to do more here in the Gila Valley.
Yeah,
it's fun doing. I love the flexibility of the virtual world we live in now, and there's something just about doing stuff in person with people.
I still love. I mean, we've been working from home because we're able to in our line of business. While we're getting our office together. But there's just something about having a spot where you can sit across the table from someone and really, because that's where I think you really gain the trust. People want to talk in front of you, and so we're really looking forward to that office being opened up so that we have somewhere to go. I
was going to ask you about one more thing. A few months ago, you put on this dinner. Are you still doing those?
We're going to do
dinners?
more of those.
And tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, we've taken a little bit of a break, mostly because Matt, Tate, and I, who run the podcast, have been doing, we call them collision dinners.
Yeah.
And we've done them here in the Gila Valley. We've done some down in Mesa, Phoenix. Matt's done a couple up in Utah. And reason we've taken a little bit of a break is all three of us, Matt moved, Tate bought a new business. I've been pretty busy, and so we're hoping to host some more soon. So yeah, I'm glad you brought this up. The idea of the collision dinner is two things. We, one, want to get amazing people together. You get a bunch of like-minded people that are trying to grow and build and create, and you're bound to have some collisions happen, and we've had some pretty cool experiences from those get-togethers. In fact, I know of a 6-figure deal that happened because a couple people met at one of the events we did.
That's cool.
And then the other part to it is we want to give people a chance to give back. And so as part of these dinners, we stole this idea from another group that does this down in Phoenix, but they call them tip dinners. But we try to select a local business and ask them to send somebody from their team that could really use it to either deliver the food or to like actually serve the food. Mm-hmm. And then we just ask everybody who comes, like, put a big tip in. So
that's cool.
It's kind of been cool to see. We've done most of these in the Gila Valley at Craig Bloomfield's house. Cool to have 20, 30 people in a room and tip a few $1,000s to someone who could really use it. It's been pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
So
yeah, it was pretty. I was at that last one at Craig's, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
To witness and be.
Yeah, we'll do another one soon.
I didn't make that one. So do you? Is there like a discussion, or is it just everyone getting together and eating, or is there like a speaker at those?
We've done
like,
a couple formats. Sometimes we've just had, if it's a smaller group, have everybody just introduce what they're doing and maybe what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And then when we've had it once or twice, we've had some speakers lined up where they come and share like a kind of a brief message about networking or maybe their business or something. So
that's cool.
So yeah, we're hoping to. We kind of put it on pause too because we've been doing them outdoors and it was super cold the last one we did. And
it was cold.
Yeah,
starting to warm up. Yeah,
it's warming up, so it's been on our list to get that going again. So
make sure you let us know.
Yeah, I will.
So I'd like to go to one.
We'll have one soon. So yeah, and would love to invite anyone to the Gila Valley when we.
I was going to ask, is that an open invite or is that?
Yeah, the biggest thing we want is if. Depending on how the vendor comes, the only thing we ask for is just people to pay for their food. So we sell, if we have to pay for it up front, we just have people buy a ticket to pay for their meal. Sometimes, depending on the vendor, sometimes we're able to just have people pay when they pay the vendor directly.
When they get there. Gotcha.
So yeah.
Awesome.
But that's been fun.
So the last thing I wanted to ask you about, you got your pilot's license, right?
I do, yeah.
Tell me about that. Because I'm jealous.
It's my midlife crisis, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know if I'm old. I don't know when your midlife crisis is supposed to happen, but
hopefully you're not there yet.
Yeah. Hopefully I won't have it or just
quarter life crisis.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So when I was traveling back and forth to Tucson a lot, I actually had a conversation with Brent Webb one day. He's a pilot and flies.
That guy will convince anybody to get their pilot license.
Right. And he just told me how he literally has cloned himself, being able to go and be multiple places around the state in a day with his plane. And at the time I was traveling so much, I was like this, my brain exploded a little bit. And I'm like, oh, I want to fly back and forth to Tucson. And so I kind of always thought like, hey, you've got to have tons of money to get into this.
Tens of thousands of dollars.
Right, and it was way more, I mean, it's not cheap, but it was, I don't know, between 10 and 15,000 to get my license, but I was able to pay for lessons as I go and rent out as I go. So you can kind of go at your own pace. So his son Chandler was a instructor, and at the time was instructing up at the Safford Airport. So I just started going twice a week in the mornings and flying a little Cessna 150 around town, learning to fly, and got my license. And I haven't flown as much as I'd like as of late. It's been really fun.
I'm so jealous about that. So okay.
It's
so
possible.
if now that you have your license, I mean, if you're one afternoon or whatever, is it hard to go and rent a plane? Or like, can you basically just walk to the airport and be like, hey, I want to fly this plane?
That's one little challenge we have in the Gila Valley. There's not very many rental. There's as far as I know, there's not a plane you can rent right now.
Really?
At the time, I was able to rent this plane that Chandler had, but he's no longer instructing. He sold the plane.
Gotcha.
Was trying to go in with a couple guys to buy a plane as a partnership that we would in turn rent out. The deal fell through, but we're looking to do it with another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool that they've got those little flights going between the airport and Phoenix, and yeah, it's crazy how quick you can zip around if you got access to a plane.
So Brent told me that Chandler bought a kit and built a plane.
Yeah.
Isaac and I put together a desk yesterday, and it fell apart before we left. Not fell apart. There's like
it would be like a propeller fell off. Not the whole thing, but a small piece of it fell off. Yeah.
We bought a kit for a desk. And
maybe you guys shouldn't do a kit plane, but
yeah, well, let someone else build it.
Maybe.
I know how to use a desk.
I'm great desk user. Right? So, super impressive about that guy. Yeah, that's impressive that he trusts himself that much too.
Yeah, no, the plane I fly is a kit plane, and it's amazing. So, yeah. But
yeah, that would be so nervous to fly something that I put together myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
You're not mechanically inclined.
I'm not mechanically inclined at all.
Rigorous testing before they take it there.
Yeah.
But cool, man. Well, I'm so glad we got to do
fun.
This with you.
Totally.
Always a pleasure to get to see you and talk to you. And
same.
You are someone that I haven't known I haven't known you probably almost 20 years now, I guess.
Getting close, yeah.
But
in the Gila Valley, that's not very long.
True.
Yeah.
That's funny that you would say that. Yeah.
But your story's cool, and
Appreciate it.
I am excited to see what you keep doing. And
yeah,
I just think the world of you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys. It's been fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like Gucci.